Thousands of years ago, humans developed the ability to think and understand the world around them. We came together like never before and dominated this small blue pearl that is our home. To what avail was this progress without joy? Now, imagine a world where everyone and everything is completely artificial. People only live for the purpose to work. The cities are nothing but cut-out blocks of the same shape. We are now threatened by a wave of mundanity, a world where what could be warmth and connection is now replaced by a black hole that consumes emotion, the very core of the human condition. A world where everyone is the same, a world where the cities conform to the same precepts, a world where there is no love, no joy, and no emotion. The strange and fascinating are but relics, the mummified finger of a once great and sovereign empire. So what changes must be made in order to avoid this dire future we are heading toward?
The most debated and controversial discussion is the changes education must take either towards a more STEM or humanities-focused teaching. STEM focuses on science, math, and engineering, while humanities focuses on understanding humans and their culture. This includes subjects like art, language, literature, music, philosophy, religion, and history.
Well, I think STEM has to have some aspect of humanities in terms of writing. Like if you're doing a proposal for money for some kind of engineering grant or space studies or something like that, you have to be able to read and write and understand how to communicate.
Unfortunately, it is often assumed that STEM is the only way to make advancements in society. It is clear to see that in schools, STEM is given top priority while humanities is pushed to the side.
Because I feel like there's a push for jobs, and I've often felt that people feel like jobs come from STEM studies. Now, that being said, I don't have a STEM degree, and I found a job. So I actually lean towards people having a more well-rounded background and then getting into a STEM field. I would love to see people be like English literature majors and become managers of companies, because I feel like that's the kind of background people really need to understand things.
In their blindness, they argue that this rapidly advancing world, STEM is the only way to survive. This prioritization of STEM in schools leads to a misleading view that STEM is more important than humanities. Young and impressionable students are constantly fed the idea that the only way to be successful is to study STEM. Most students only take STEM courses because they feel it is required to survive in a world that only expects results. They naively believe humanities is useless in this quickly developing world. The less obvious, however more accurate answer is that the population needs to prepare for the future by focusing on the human aspect that is missing in the world. Society must start to veer towards humanities-based courses in their schooling.
I think humanities, because of where society was. We didn't have technology, so there wasn't as big of a focus on that. There was also more of a focus on hands-on trade type jobs, what we would call blue-collar jobs, and that's going away too. So, but I do think there was definitely more of a focus on literature and humanities in general.
The only way the population can preserve the human condition is by studying it through the humanities.
I think the STEM classes should be more humanities based. I'm not just being tricky. Let me explain. So I think like science courses could go deeper into the history of the scientist and of like the historical context that yielded like new scientific developments, like the atom bomb, right? Einstein concerned about the fission of the atom, and then writing letters to the president that is concerned about what they're creating. I think all the stories surrounding science should be a part of science instead of just what the science is. Yeah, so in fact, I think there needs to be more humanities, but even at the STEM level.
There has been a large increase in students majoring in STEM. But does this mean this increase in STEM majors comes from more interest in the fields? According to a study done by Penn State in 2009, students rate the STEM department consistently lower than non-STEM departments in several categories. People are seeking a future where they leave their dreams for a handful of paper and coins to avoid fading into a world that doesn't care. If schools continue to focus more heavily on STEM and ignore the humanities, then the consequences will create a world incapable of creating human connections, which results in mass suffering from depression and isolation. The most essential benefit of humanities is its skepticism. John Horgan, an American science journalist, believes it is precisely because science is so powerful that we need the humanities now more than ever. In STEM, there is only one definitive answer, but the humanities gives you uncertainty, doubt, and skepticism. Skepticism has helped humans become as developed as we are today. It allows for understanding on a complicated concept that not much is known about. Humans. What are we? Why are we? What is our purpose? This all can only be answered through the skepticism and humanities we learn. We must first focus on the humanities rather than STEM in order to find out what kind of society we want to live in.
I think it's important for people to have some level of enjoyment in reading, especially literature, because it tells a story of sort of how we've come to be where we are now. As far as history, you, again, don't know where you have come from unless you know where you've been. Visual arts is important because we know from studies that different parts of the brain need different stimulation, and so you don't always get that from doing maths and sciences. So I think just for the whole person, it's important to have a variety.
Individuals are conditioned through the education system to believe STEM is more important than the humanities, when in reality, it is quite the opposite. STEM is the academic study of facts, accepting the truth and moving on, but never looking back to see what makes life meaningful. Humanities is the study of life itself and what makes it worth living. The switch from humanities to STEM comes from a place of fear, the fear of not being accepted in society. So they chase STEM to be prepared for the future, when truthfully, humanities is what is needed to bond with others, to think beyond what is normal, to soar to new heights. It has come to the point where the majority of those indoctrinated into the school system has conformed to this oversimplified belief. However, they fail to see the importance of humanities, to save humanity in our progressing world and focus only on the material rather than the spiritual. They mean to advance the human race but never question why we advance, constantly viewing facts and figures and never delving into what they mean, praising the outer shell of achievement but never looking within, and question the need of advance. In a society that sets out to make drones of the common man, humanities gives people individuality and the uniqueness that make us human.